I don't view transactions as a dollar amount. I view them as I'm helping people. And my view is helping people helps me grow my business.
Hello, welcome to episode 243 of the Smart Agents Podcast. As always, my name is Michael Walter, and I'll be your host. On today's episode, we are joined by Daniel Berger, the broker owner of RE/MAX Prestige Properties based outside of New York City. Getting into real estate after careers in the sales and marketing fields, Daniel shares how he broke into the business, built a strong pipeline through lead generation, and mastered guerrilla marketing tactics to stand out in a crowded market. From leveraging platforms like Zillow to collecting meaningful client reviews, Daniel breaks down the strategies that have helped him grow a reputation rooted in results and shares a few stories along the way. But before we get on to today's featured interview, if you or someone else on your team has an incredible story of real estate success or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. We're always on the lookout for new guests to inspire our listeners. And lastly, if you enjoyed this conversation and want to hear more, be sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents Podcast. We stream on all major podcasting platforms such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. All right, let's get on with our conversation with Daniel Berger. If you'd like to connect with him or listen to his podcast, Adventures of a Real Estate Broker, be sure to check out the episode description. All right, well, really the way I'd like to start out is if you could introduce yourself to us a little bit. Tell us where you are located.
Okay, my name is Daniel Berger. I'm the broker owner of RE/MAX Prestige Properties in White Plains, New York. It's a suburb of New York City, about 30 minutes, 35 miles north of the city. This is like my second or third career. I started really in sales and marketing. I was more in the beverage world, working for a bottled water company and coffee companies for over 20 years. I put my feet a little bit into the solar industry when the company went bankrupt. Not because of me, but when the company was a huge billion-dollar company and they did a lot of bad investments. And they quickly went bankrupt. And my wife was like, what are you going to do when you get older? And it was because of my wife. She's like, you should be a real estate agent. And I started as a real estate agent for a little bit of time. And I was at a big brand name and a small brand name. And then it was quickly apparent to me that I needed to be the broker because I didn't like sometimes where, we do this way because that's the way it's always been done or whatever. And so before you're technically allowed to be a broker, I was able to, there's a couple of technicalities and I was able to become a broker through one of those technicalities, which is checking into hotel rooms, actually counts as a day lease. And I was able to get enough points and time to do that between buying my house and hotels. And New York State granted me a broker's license, and RE/MAX came calling, asking they wanted, obviously they liked starting new brokerages, and I bought a brokerage, and here we are about 9.5 years into that journey.
So tell me about what was it, when you first got your start in real estate, lead generation, kind of making a name for yourself. How did your previous experience in your other careers help that out?
So the coffee company that I worked for, I was at Green Mountain Coffee for 12 years, and they were a very, very small company at the time. We did guerrilla marketing, right? We would do whatever we didn't have a ton of money, but we did whatever we could. My job was I was the original sales manager for their K-Cup. So the K-Cup now is something that, Green Mountain, Keurig, Green Mountain bought Keurig and then ended up Coca-Cola bought it. Now it's owned by, I think, private equity. It's Snapple, Dr.
Right.
Pepper. I don't even know where, so that was years ago. So it had to be like, what I loved about that business was really, how do we do things and how do we get our brand out there? And is it from sampling? It's from, we sponsored a couple of jam cruises, which was a musical cruises where we were, it was a very environmentally friendly, socially conscious. So that was like the theme of Green Mountain was kind of that, a percent of their proceeds went to environmental and social causes. And so I got involved in that and then how to try to grow the business. And what I liked about, this is that you're really fighting to try to grow your business. And what I like about being the broker myself is that I can do things that make sense and follow the rules, not because what other people say. I love the autonomy to do that. So I'm the broker. Last year I did about 42 million in sales. The brokerage did about 75 million. So I really started the brokerage so that I could, do what I want to do. And then of course I have people, and besides selling, which I love to sell, I'm not going to ever give up selling. I do like mentoring people. And so my other agents that, I don't need to grow for the sake of growing, but the agents that we have, I spend a lot of my time mentoring and having them shadow and watch what I do, and I'll share what I do to try to help them grow their business. So being a broker, I like that I can sell, and then I can also help people along their sales journey.
Right. So on the topic of the guerrilla marketing, what are some of the things that you've done to market yourself as a real estate agent, but then also your listings and the properties that you're selling?
So the Z word scares a lot of people. I love Zillow. To me, I have traditionally, I've grown my business from being, you can tell I'm kind of older and I have gray hair. I do have my hair, but it's gray. Right. So if I started 10 years ago and I'm 56 now, I was about 46 years old. People in my town and my community have been doing real estate for decades, right? And how do I come in as not old, but new in a business? And why will somebody sell their house with me? It's a great question. So I'm like, I need business. And so I invested in Zillow, probably like $1,500 a month. And I started getting, business that way. And, and then I kept moving it up. Now we actually spend about $12,000 a month. And I actually don't take, it's been for a couple of years, I don't take almost none of those Zillow calls go to me. They all go to my team. And so that's what I do as a broker to try to do that. Well, the reason why I don't have to technically take leads now is because for those 5, 6, and 7 years, I was getting leads, and I would take the smallest deal I've ever done is a $41,000 co-op. That's not true. I've done land sale for $20,000. So I don't view transactions as a dollar amount. I view them as I'm helping people. And my view is helping people helps me grow my business. And so some of those early sales, those people have been the best proponents of me on social media, and then referrals. And some of those early people, I'm up to 12 to 15 transactions from those people buying and selling, and those people referring business to me. I've got 3 referrals yesterday. They came to me. So when we talk about, podcasts, I'm also writing a book that's about to come out, The Adventures of a Real Estate Broker. That's going to come out hopefully in May. And it's really the crazy stories that happen along the way, and it involves people. And so one of the stories that I'm writing about, those people referred someone to me yesterday. So, so that's really like, I do a podcast. Do I know how many people listen to it? No, I don't. But I know that every time that I have someone on, they get tagged, I get tagged. And then it's the beauty of this social media. And then people can go back and look at what we do. And it's really lighthearted. I'm not like, it's really just about stories and about some of my perceptions. I don't think I'm any better or smarter than people. I think in the real estate world, I'm doing okay from coming from nothing to doing 65 transactions and 42 million in sales last year. But it's just really being humble, and I'm not a suit guy. I like you're wearing a hat and we're both like, I wore shorts yesterday and I was showing $2 million properties in Greenwich, Connecticut, because what I wear, and it was winter. So it was kind of, I was wearing like a long sleeve, I was wearing a sweater or whatever and shorts. Because ultimately it's people want me for me, right? Not for this fake thing. Not that it's fake, but not for an image. I work hard. I work every day. I'm very responsive. So it's a long answer, but I think another thing is I saw a company called Rate My Agent. Rate My Agent basically takes reviews. So after a close, you send your clients the link. You can either do it through Google, through Zillow. Those are the ways, and they'll take those reviews and compile them. And then they have like an awards thing where they basically give like awards out for people based off of reviews. It's not about how much money you made. It's about reviews. And so I saw that early on and I was very apt. I'm like, oh, I should add I have really good reviews because I work for my reviews, not for money. I figured if I work for a good review, the money will be behind it. And I have really good reviews. So I've been nurturing using those, onesies and twosies and whatever, and then turning that into reviews that then help get people. People now, they basically say, oh, I've Googled you. I want to work with you. So I get that a lot. And I get that, oh, I see you on, I sponsor wipes at CVS's and I do a podcast. But so I don't know if I do it for that. I do it so that there's a something out there in my social media world that people can see about it, and then they can click on it and they can listen to it and think, oh, he does kind of know what he's talking about. So I try to do that to help grow my business. But the Rate My Agent, I mean, I've been lucky. Well, it's luck. You get luck through hard work, but my hard work of dedication to clients has produced really, really good reviews. New York State, I'm their number one agent in the state the last 3 out of 4 years, and I came in second last year. In my county, I've won it 4 years in a row. And in the United States, they just had their awards like 2 weeks ago. I was their 11th ranked agent in the United States. So it's exclusively from reviews. So they look into the reviews and they basically try to rate my agent through the reviews. So that's how I've been able to guerrilla market in a world of people selling $5-10 million homes. I don't do that. I don't also need to do that, right? So I've cobbled together last year 65 deals for $42 million. I can pay a couple of bills with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really the Rate My Agent. I met them at the NAR convention in San Francisco in 2019. They were a booth. We did an interview with them. It was actually really cool. They were just kind of getting things going. It's really cool that you've leveraged that and have done so well with it.
And even so, I've even had the contact. So I have like a handler at Rate My Agent where we work on, okay, how do we take that award and how do we promote it? How do I promote this listing? So that's the business component of them. But I'm like, oh, I like this. So them doing their awards allowed me to invest with them because I'm like, I like that they're going around, and promoting my sales or whatever, or my listings. And so I've put my handler from Rate My Agent, Justin, was actually on my podcast. And so they like that too, because they then promote it. So then it's like, oh, what's up with this guy? So that's the guerrilla marketing. I don't have a marketing company doing it for me. So out of doing, 75 million in sales, there are no employees in my company. I'm the only employee of, I'm a share. It's a sole proprietorship. It's just me. Other than that, we basically have, independent contractors that are agents. And then I have somebody that helps me with lead management, but everything is based off of that. No, I have no admin. So I'm doing all the deals that I have. And when someone needs the memo, I'm the one. And by the way, after this call, I have an accepted offer on one of my listings. I'm going to go in and do the memo because my view is, why do I need to tell someone else what my memo should look like? All it is editing other memos, right? And I want to know everything about my deals. And we were recording before when an attorney called. I get very involved in my deals, right. Where more than others, and I love that. And that makes me a little bit is that, and I also get business this way because title agents and lawyers are like, you know what, I have a referral, I have a sister, I have this. You know what? I know that you know what you're doing, and they refer the business. So the referrals kind of, that's why I couldn't imagine if I was doing this for like 20 years. Wow, how many referrals would I have? but I also say, me being 10 years into it, I'm still very passionate about it. I work every day. I love the work. It can get hard, but I have a couple of deals that I'm closing that people at the closing table will be like, this would never close with anybody else. Like, so I get into that much more than the money aspect of it. So,
right. Well, and so I want to kind of circle back to, you mentioned, the Zillow leads and how well that's worked for you. And I think because of that mindset that you do have that, no lead, it's not the dollar amount, it's the It's the interaction with the clients, and it's that referral. You're working for that referral, and how much that has paid off over the years. I think having that mindset, so many more people would find success with the paid leads if they went into it, that those leads aren't necessarily, we're not looking at those as this specific transaction. It's the transactions that follow it.
So what's interesting about Zillow, I guess this could be a commercial for Zillow. I don't know if you're on their poll or not, but this would be a good one for them. Is that, so Zillow, people don't like it because it's hard, right? You get a lot of bogus leads, right? And but that's in sales, that you have to parse through that. You have to contact them and figure out, are they really motivated? Are they ready, willing, and able now? Are they able, right? Can they get a loan? So you need to call people. You need to contact. You're going to get ghosted by a lot of people. But that's the numbers. And so if you're not willing to put in the effort, then Zillow is the worst for you, because it's not someone just calling, connecting, and where you're like, I'm ready to buy a house. Here's my pre-approval and let's go. I want that house. So I know that when someone on Zillow clicks and then you see that house, it is never about them buying that house. The number of times that they buy that house that they've called me on it's happened, but it's extremely rare. It's less than 5%. It might be 1%, maybe, or less. But what it is somebody who has an interest of, I want a property. And it's my job as a professional real estate agent or a realtor is to understand what their needs are, what they're able to afford, and then to take their desire that they need a place, whether it's a house, apartment, land, whatever it is, and then work with them to satisfy their needs. So it's hard. And that's why people don't like it, right? People don't hand you stuff. It is hard work. I have an example, and it's going to be in my book, of my record for showing houses is 205 houses over 13 months.
Wow.
And a lot of, and we went back to houses. So houses that I went back to did not count as another house. So it was probably at 205, it was probably like 250 showings, if not more. And people are like, why didn't you fire them? I'm like, fire them? Why would I fire them? They're looking for the house. And like I've heard stories of, I only show 5 or 10 houses. If they don't buy it, then I move on. That is not my, that's not, so 205 houses over 13 months. It was, the husband at one point actually tried to fire me because he thought it was taking too long, and he didn't realize it was really because of them. But eventually that it was funny. In that case, they called another agent because they wanted to switch. The agent knew me and said, like, knew me from a deal or whatever, and said, if you haven't found the house by now, it is not his issue, it's your issue. And they didn't fire me because and I thanked her, and I was like, and that was probably at like house 60. So we still went for a long time. They ended up buying a house for $1.2 million, all cash. It closed in 30 days. Then they referred 3 people to me. And then when a parent died, and I had to sell a $1 million multifamily in the Bronx for them. So I got that too. She's now an agent with a friend. So I got her but it was very interesting that I would go to their apartment. She doesn't really drive, so that's interesting.
Right.
But I would pick her up, and we would drive around, and we would go see all the different houses with her friends. And then when she liked things, we would bring her husband in. So, but you know what? In the end of the day, 205 showings, 20 something, it was still I got $100 for every house I brought her into, not including the referrals that she gave me.
Yeah.
To me, that's, it was worth it. She was they're amazing people on my social media. Even today, they're constantly congratulating me, saying things. So it's all about connections. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's how I've grown a business to doing, 35 to 60 something transactions every single year for nine plus years.
Yeah. And tell me about, having that mindset of, I'm going to stick with you no matter how long it takes, no matter how difficult it can be. We're going to find this house, because at the end of the day, it is the largest, most stressful time of somebody's life. It's a big decision for them to buy a house, especially at that price point. So just having that mindset of, we're going to stick it out with you and find the perfect place.
I mean, my job as a salesperson is to be an advocate for my clients, and that's this business, and that's what I signed up for. I have another deal for a client. They have mattress money. So mattress money is money that's, tips or cash or whatever that's not in the bank, can't be a part of a deal. I'm working on it's an FHA mortgage, and they can only go to certain levels. Their credit's not so good. And I understood their dilemma, and I was able to then work with a listing agent to basically have, money outside of the deal where that cash can be used to pay commission. That's a legal way to do it. And you're also allowed to buy furnishings. So there's probably like a pool of like $35,000 that's going to be paid outside of the deal. And because I'm the broker, like if I'm given the cash, I can then pay the other broker, because I can't just pay the broker. I have to pay their brokerage, right? And it's a bit, so I put an offer together that basically says I'm going to, you don't have to pay me the commission. I'm going to pay you a commission if we sell. And it was a flip. So I worked out with the builder that I would do that. And so I have an okay name that people understand that, if I say I'm going to pay you, you're getting paid. Plus, I mean, granted, it's in the, I'll do a cooperating broker agreement, and all that, but it's like, my word is my word. And that is the most important thing. So like that's how I'm building my business, is about my reputation. You said something else about like, what do I do that's better, different, and special? Mm-hmm. As I know that many firms like to say that they have like a concierge program. So I'm like, so basically where they lend money, and generally they're lending money to do staging, renovating the house. I've never seen one of the contracts, but I'm going to assume that there's a fee attached to it. I don't know that for a fact, but there's probably a fee. I lend money, and you were on the call with that person. I actually lent $8,500 to clean out the house, to do multiple things to clean out the house. $8,500, no interest whatsoever, none, right? And I have I'm selling a house for, the person, is no longer really competent, and there's a power of attorney. The son basically is like, I promise to pay you. That's it. Not like, that's it. I have a promise that I will pay you even if the house doesn't close. So my risk is $8,500. So I lent the money because in order for me to be able to sell the house, that's what I needed to do. And then I do have a commission. What's interesting about that deal is there were some other liens that we needed to get satisfied, and we didn't know if there was going to be any money for the agents. And so I put a deal together where I told the agent, neither of us might get paid. I promise that you'll get the first, if there's only 1% for commission, you can have it. Then I want the next 1%, and then we'll equally share until we hit our numbers. And I got someone to actually accept that offer because it was, friends of the family. She wanted to help them. She understood. It turns out that those liens were federal tax liens that actually expired. And a tax lien that expires is no longer valid. They expired for 2 years. The federal government could have come back and liened the house again. They have not done that. And so I let everyone know what the risk could be so that I'm covered, but those risks didn't happen. So she's going to get her full money. So while we were debating it, in order for the seller to actually accept the offer that we accepted, I actually had to reduce my commission by a third. So I didn't have to do anything, but as a business person, I'm like, again, this is all about relationship building. So I said, I'll take less. I went from 3% to 2%. And I'm like, because I got to get this deal done, right? No, percent means nothing. You don't take percent to the bank. You take dollars to the bank. And closing is more important than not closing. And I did that. Well, when the liens got washed away, he calls me, he goes, I don't want you just taking 2. I'm going to push you back up to the 3%. So again, for doing the right thing, right. Sometimes doing the right thing, you don't get rewarded. But the way that I've worked is more often than not doing the right thing. That's my guiding light. Do the right thing. I want to do the right thing. Most of my clients do for them, and if they don't, maybe it's a story in my book or on a podcast.
Right. Definitely. Well, and I mean, it definitely seems that doing the right thing is definitely, it's brought the referrals and it's brought the high ratings and it's brought the good reviews. So it is absolutely helping your business. I want to touch on, your brokerage and what you look for with the agents that you bring on. And you said you enjoy mentoring agents. So what do you look for when you're bringing on new agents?
So I've never made a phone call to recruit an agent ever. I'm not scaling for the sake of scaling. So if people have to kind of come to me, I would say that because of that, I get a few fresher agents, newer agents. And so it takes a lot of time for me to do that. And in the Remax model, there's actually a fee. There's $310 a month, and I don't get any of it. It all goes to corporate, and $410 a year. So there's like $4,000 of fees to be a Remax agent, which there's websites, and there are some leads and whatever. But that's just, I get none of that. It just goes. So I don't, it's hard for a newer agent to start because of that. I probably, when people call me and they ask me to join, I probably let them more than I should. Mm-hmm. I should probably push people away more, but I don't, I try to work with people. So, I would say that, if you looked at the number of people that are attached to my brokerage, it's probably like 20, but for the most part, some are lawyers and I'm holding their license. There's a few people I'm holding their license and not doing. Some people, I don't even understand how you could be a part-time agent, but there are some agents that are part-time, and some people are like, you know what? I just like having a license. And I'm like, okay, but you got to pay these fees. So they pay those fees. So I don't really recruit, but, except that if I see, I do tell people, if you like working with me, you can work with me all the time. So, right. But it's not offering any money for anyone to join. It's, the program is what it is. I don't need to have anybody, right? So it's more like, it's probably better to have this smaller, tight group of, family, that we're working together, because obviously agents need to be at a certain level, because I don't want them to tarnish the Remax Prestige Property brand, which I'm the owner and broker of. So clearly I spent a lot of time brokering and mentoring, and, I had a couple of things last week that it was learning experience. And one example is one of my clients, a listing had an incorrect information about electricity. It was an apartment, electricity being included. It's not. The person bought it. So they checked my agent checked again with the listing agent. And really, you're really supposed to check either other listings, but really supposed to call the management company and or have the client call themselves, because even if somebody on the other line could say, yeah, it's included, and then what happens when it's not? So it was a lesson learned. And I basically told the person, I said, listen, and it was I don't know, his commission might have been like $4,000. It was a co-op and something like that. And I basically said, you need to offer him $100 a month for 12 months, $1,200. I said, this is my opinion. You need to apologize immediately that you shouldn't have, that you made a mistake. He's a newer, you made a mistake. You're owning up to your mistake. You're sorry. And you should offer up the money with not even like a paper that says that, not even because, not saying that if you accept this money, you can't come back at me. I thought that was kind of rude of us to even say that. I'm like, I just felt that in a lot of cases, saying that you're sorry immediately is helpful to tone down the, and I don't think he was ever pissed, but he was annoyed, which he should be. He ended up, as they were having their conversation, he's like, I don't really want you to do it. And he goes, no, I insist. And that is what I love about that agent, was that, $1,200 is a fair amount of, it means something, but he wanted them to know that's how much he meant to him, that he apologizes. And so, by doing something like that's an example of being a broker and try to guide people through, because, it's our name. And so at least this guy's going to be like, you know what, it was done. But I think it was, in the end of the day, there was an apology, it was accepted. And there was something that was given to show how much it was, that they meant that they didn't mean to do it. So again, I think that's a good trait to have as a broker, but also as an agent, because not everything's perfect in life. You can't make it, everything's perfect, but you can apologize and properly move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you have a busy day coming up, so I don't want to take up much more of your time, but I do want to tell me a little bit more about your podcast and where people can find it and, all that good stuff.
So it's a great thing. So I think you can go on wherever podcasts are. But why did I do my podcast? So it's interesting. So I had, I was on a couple of people's podcasts, and I'm like, oh, these are kind of cool or whatever. And then the company that was producing those podcasts called me, and I'm like, so they tell me how the setup is, and I'm like, and what it goes, and I'm like, that's interesting, and some people are asking me every single day, how do I advertise and whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I was doing it every other week, and I actually upgraded it now to once a week. But, getting on with like you and having this conversation is fun, right? I put someone on who's a real estate guy, but he's also done some books. I actually hired him as my final editor and helped me get my book on. So I'm even meeting people that way. But, I just felt that in the social media world, having something that, to me, this is positive. We're just talking shop and having that wouldn't be bad for me. I don't know if I don't need to have 10,000 followers or whatever. And, people, but I think to have it and to have a record of these conversations. So when people wanted to learn more about me, it's not me saying, I'm like, you can go to Spotify, right? Go to YouTube. That's where those things are. So I think it helps to show that, I value the real estate and the conversations with people, interactions, and then people can get on and see what I'm about and the words that come out of my mouth. There's no script, right? We're just two guys talking, right?
Right.
And so people say that I am two guys talking all the time, but to learn more about the situation. And so that's kind of why I started it. And now I'm kind of doing it. So, I don't know how many people, some people ask me, how many people view? I go, I have no clue. I just really do them. I put them on, we tag everyone, and whatever it is. And then the book started first. I'm like, I have these crazy things like the 205 houses. That's a chapter.
Yeah.
One of my clients who was not so healthy, might have been bipolar, left a voicemail that they were complaining about the seller of my house, not me. And she, in a raspy voice, she gets on, she goes, and another thing, fatso. And so that actually was going to be my book title and my podcast title, but I felt that was too confusing for people. Right. It is a chapter in my book, and we actually transcribed the entire phone call or the voicemail that she left me that was just rambling on. But, that was me she knew me pre-Ozempic, so I'm a little less, I'm still fat, but less fat. But that's like a story and another thing, fatso. And I still have that recording, actually. I don't really keep recordings. I have that and people die when they listen to it. But, it's just kind of the trials and tribulations of being an agent. It's not meant to, that's really more of her just saying what she's saying, but it's not meant to degrade anyone. It's just really wow, look, these are interesting stories that are happening. So I'm writing the book. It should be done. I'm actually writing the book with my son, who's a senior in college. His girlfriend's an English major. She didn't really have a job last summer. So I'm like, you're writing my book. And so we've been working on it, collaborating on the book. They both graduated soon, so I need to get this thing out. My daughter has a friend who's a graphic artist, so she's going to be doing my book cover for me. And so it's really like, how do you leverage your resources? So I want like my daughter's friend to have her name on the book, that she did a book title, she did the graphics. And it's certainly not bad for someone that wants to get into writing to show I've written a book. And it's not going to be the most exciting book, but at least it is something that she can put on her. And so it's very important to me that I help, if I can promote other people while still getting this message out, that's kind of a cool thing, and I'm excited to do it. So I don't know how much the book's going to cost. I don't care. I don't know. I mean, I don't really add up how much I don't put my podcast on a P&L. It's just I feel my business keeps growing, and I feel that they're good opportunities at not that much, not ridiculous numbers, to be able to get the word out about me, about RE/MAX Prestige Properties, and meeting cool people. So that's kind of why I do it. You can't really see, I can't tell you what the cost benefit analysis is on that, because I got into real estate so I don't have to do spreadsheets.
There you go. Well, you know what? And the thing I love about podcasting, and one thing that I would always recommend agents, whether it's, a local podcast with local experts, local business owners, you get to meet people, and it expands, like, just the ideas that you can create. I mean, I walk away from every conversation that I have like, oh, that was a really great idea. How can we implement something like that in our business? And I think that's where just having these one-on-one conversations with people within a like community is so great.
I mean, it probably would have been like back in the day, let's meet at a diner for breakfast, right? You would meet someone like, oh, let's meet. So yeah, you and I are chatting about stuff, and things can happen. And, I definitely, through podcasts, people are like, oh, I needed someone in San Diego. I'm like, oh, I had a guy on my podcast. I'm going to connect you to him. And so, referrals are certainly good, but it's really not right. It's really us. It's us talking about business, and I definitely get ideas from it as well. And so, right, every day that you can learn and see what else other people are doing is a good day, right? And so that's really what it's about. It's not rocket science. We're in real estate, right? So, but I'm having fun along the way. I work really hard to provide value. There are a lot of people that they can choose. I don't get upset if they choose other people, and it is what it is. And I've been lucky. Again, you kind of create your luck, but that hard work has produced a lot of business and a lot of people calling me, asking me for business. So I don't know what tomorrow is going to be. I only know what today is. And today it feels like every day I'm showing, because I think I've shown. I was away a little bit for Thanksgiving, and since I've been back, I basically have shown houses every single day. But that's the job, and I love it. So it's great to be able to, right? Does it really work if you're enjoying it? I mean, it is work, but it's fun work. And I appreciate, I do give, the accolades go to my wife, or at least the thanks and the props to my wife for seeing in me that she's like, you would be a really good real estate agent. And so that's in the book as well. So my wife Elise does get, pushing me into that. And now she's like, good. She's a partner at a law firm, and she's like, good. Start making a little bit more. I'll retire and we'll rest on your laurels as a real estate broker. So that's if it can happen, it can happen.
Awesome. Well, I really do appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Sure, absolutely. My pleasure.
I really want to thank Daniel for taking the time to speak with us today and share how he has built his business. Remember, if you'd like to listen to his podcast, Adventures of a Real Estate Broker, be sure to check out the episode description. So once again, if you think you or someone else on your team has an incredible story or tips to share with our community, send us a message to feedback@smartagents.com. Well, that wraps things up for this episode, but remember, follow the show wherever you listen to podcasts, and make sure to subscribe to the Smart Agents YouTube channel. Again, I'm Michael Walter, and we'll see you on the next episode.